Well, there we are. We are live. Looking forward to having very shortly a quick chat with Greg, who is backstage, but needs to sort out the washing machine, I believe, or something to do with the washing machine. But obviously, we heard tonight that Greg is the new skipper of the Bandits, and obviously we're absolutely delighted to have Greg back for a third year. Obviously, as you can tell by the thumbnail of the video, we had the Bandits of, I believe it was 2000. I think it was 2009. What a collection they were! What a cosmopolitan group they were. I'm also hoping that we can get Leon in to have a chat with us as well, to do with his captaincy of the Bullets. We're hoping to do that on Wednesday. But in the meantime, we have obviously to discuss the Bullets, who have been absolutely fantastic. I don't know about you guys out there, but for me, they have been the most entertaining team. Certainly around Sheffield this year, and obviously Chief Mr. Entertainer of the Bullets. It's been absolutely fantastic. I'm struggling to think of a race where Greg hasn't entertained us in some way or some shape or form, and that maximum against Bellevue, that will take some beating. I'm just going to introduce the man himself. Greg, how you doing?
Not too bad, Paul. Thanks for that
You,
little
I
bit of ad lib in there, so I could get
well,
my washing machine turned off.
I mean, seriously, that maximum you got against Bellevue, some of the overtaking,
Yeah.
that was just Compline-esque, wasn't it?
Who? Yeah,
Compline-esque.
yeah. No, it was one of them nights where everything kind of just went in my favour. The track was spot on, just the way I like it. And yeah, it was just the bike worked well. The guys in the pits all worked well, and it was a really good night for me.
Excellent. Let's take you back to when you first started riding Speedway. How did you get
Well,
involved in it?
well, it's kind of the same old tale. It's been in the blood before I was even born.
Yep.
Obviously, with the great grandparents opening up in 1968, my dad was, he was always kicking about there. He's had a bit of a skid in his time as well. So it's just been a thing where I've been good. It's going to be happening. I've been going since I was about 6 months old, Barrington and Shielfield Park. So, yeah, first shot on a bike down at the beach. Had a bit of shot of it, and for anybody who's ever had a shot of a speedo bike at a beach, it is not like that on a track. There is no traction on a beach. And my first goal was at working, and I thought I could do this, and I just tipped her into the corner and went straight on and hit the fence. So yeah, and then after that, that was it. It was I was on the track and ready to go.
And when did you actually? How old were you when you started with the Bandits? Was it? I seem to recall you were pretty young at that age.
Yeah, it would be. I think I'd be about 18 years old when I come through and rode for the Bandits. I came in as a replacement for a rider, and I enjoyed my time there. Learned quite a lot, but just wasn't up to the pace of what the team wanted, and unfortunately, I never got to see the season out.
That was most disappointing because I recall seeing in the Speedway Star that you were going to be given the whole season to develop. And I've seen these promises made to other riders over the years, and not fulfilled. Any sort of
Yeah, It does kind of when something like that happens, it's a bit of a blow. But I guess it's the same as, it works both ways. There's clubs that will bring someone on and say we're going to have you in for the whole season, and then again you'll have riders who'll say that they're going to ride for that club for the whole season, and then all of a sudden just decide. We've seen it this year with a few riders that have decided to take a break from the sport, took some time away, and then towards the business end of the season, riders have signed for other clubs, and I mean, it happens. It does happen both ways, but it's usually just seen as the bad thing when the club does it to the rider. But the riders can do it to the club as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not.
Personally,
I'm sure it's, yeah.
I don't agree with either way of it, but
yeah, it can't be a one-way street. There has to be a little bit of, I suppose, respect from both sides. And when it comes to riding for a team, was Berwick Reserve, was that the first team place you were offered? I seem to recall a picture of you riding, or certainly a picture of you as quite a young lad. I would say 13, 14, 15 down at Redcar.
Yeah, when I was about 15, that's when I cut my teeth at Redcar. Learned how to go there. Really enjoyed that place. Spent a few seasons there in the third division, the Conference League it was called back then. I don't know. I mean, I rode there until I had my accident, and then got injured the following year and broke my leg. But I went on tour with the team, which was quite good. That was just as Richard Lawson had just come to the sport and signed for the Redcar Cubs, and I went up and down the country with my broken leg. But again, enjoyed it. It's not just the riding the bike; it's everyone that you've got around you, and when you've got good people around you, the results don't really matter. It's all about the progression at that level, anyway.
Sure. One thing I suppose I should. I don't know if I've ever asked you this one before. So you were old enough to have seen racing at Barrington Lough. Disappointed you never got the chance to do it?
I have vague memories of Barrington. It's not something that I can, I can't remember going there all the time. I've just got little snippets of things coming back to me because I was again quite young. I'd be 6-year-old when we moved, but 6 or 7-year-old when we moved back to Shieldfield. So, looking at the videos and everything else like that of it, I would have loved to have had a bit of a blast around there. I actually went to the track this year.
I know you did, yeah.
I went just to have a look and kind of just to see. I'm kind of weird like that, just to see if anything would like come back so I could remember anything, but it didn't. But it was so strange because it was just, there's like a field, you could see where the track was and you could see where the pits and stand were because it's all just been knocked over. It's just bricks and stuff lying on the floor. And I found an old jacket lying there. It might have been yours, Paul. It was quite a brightly coloured one.
It could well be. It wouldn't be unusual for me to stagger out of the clubhouse well inebriated after a Saturday night.
Absolutely.
Fueled by a few drinks with Mr. Courtney Senior. Honestly, that was just a fantastic place, and I'm sure you've picked up on the vibes from other people about how much we enjoyed the Speedway at Barrington Lough, which was our home for so many years, and to be honest, enjoyed pretty much a lot of success there. It's difficult to describe, but you're familiar, of course, with Mildenhall and Rest Row and how tight that track is, and you've got a passionate local support, and almost as if to get there, it's as you once described it, it's off on an elbow somewhere in the sort of off in the side lanes of Suffolk. It's a pain to get to. So
my dad called it. He says it's like it's an armpit of a place to get to.
That was it. Yes, but the home track advantage that you could enjoy at a place like that is
that's right enough.
You would have liked.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, home track advantage. There are, I think, British Speedway especially. Home track advantage is a big thing
Mm.
in British Speedway. I mean, you go to Poland and they're all pretty much the same. They're big and they're fast. Whereas you've got the British tracks where you've got tiny little ones, like Armadale. You've got Berwick, big and fast. You get people that get a bit scared going along that back straight.
Yeah.
It's that's the thing. And Berrington, it is. It's a shame that it's not there anymore. It would have
Mm.
been nice to even just have that as like a training track.
Absolutely, absolutely. A good friend of our chat and our show, Neil. Big changes with Luke Ace and probably Kyle going elsewhere. We wait and see. The good news is that we definitely got our skipper in place. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because the very first rider announced for the Bandits was Leon, a skipper. The first rider announced for the Bullets is yourself, skipper. And the one thing about both yourself and Leon, cut you open, you would bleed black and gold.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, um, moving on then. So when did you first start? So you would have gone across, obviously, to Shearfield when it moved, and as you say, you sort of cut your teeth at Redcar. When did you first get to start to ride Shearfield?
I think it would probably be it would be the first years that I rode. I went there for a second half. I remember the the my first race that I went out in. I was up against three people. One of the lads, I can't remember his name, but I can see what race suit he was wearing.
Yeah.
And I was also up against the late Johnny Gray,
Mm,
who sadly lost this year. And
yeah.
I went out and I won it, and I was over the moon to win my first race at Shielfield.
Sure.
But I always remember that it was just that big. It was just so big, and it was quite. It's often even now, even if I've had a good race, I can go back into pits and Sean Courtney will come over and he'll say, "You need to you." It's like you need to be on the throttle for just that split second more. And
Yeah.
when you're traveling at that speed, that split second more makes that much difference. He says, because
Yeah.
you're coming off like just that little bit too early. He says, you need to keep it on. And I can have a good race and I can walk over to Sean and he'll say, you'll have to do better in the next. And I quite like Sean for that because he doesn't, if you have a good race, if you've had a good race, you know you've had a good race when Sean Courtney pats you in the back and says, well done.
I mean it's interesting. Shearfield is for me going from Barrington Lough, and during that fantastic year in '89 when Berwick not only won the cup, beating Poole, in the final, but also beating them home and away, doing the double over them. To me, that was the best Berwick team we ever had. But going away from home, the most fantastic track I ever saw was the county ground. I mean, I don't suppose you ever got a chance to ride around there.
No,
You've only ever seen it.
yes, never rode there, no.
But I mean the dimensions of it's almost exactly the same as Shearfield, particularly with the alteration to the banking,
Yeah,
a third and fourth bends. So when you went from as I say, Redcar to doing your first meeting at Berwick, and riding Berwick, how much of a contrast is it physically because of the length of the track?
yeah, it can physically it can take its toll on you because you are. I mean, it depends. If the track's heavy, if it's got quite a bit of grip on it. You are fighting with the bike and you're going a lot faster. You can have these smaller tracks where you can almost you can almost ride the bike. It's a little bit easier. Not saying it's totally easy, but it's at Berwick, you've got these big long straights, and you come in and your bike's taking off with you and everything else like that, and you're carrying a lot of speed. Just keeping a hold of it. You see a lot of riders that will come back into pits after a race, and they're, the arm pump that you've got. I mean, for anyone that's ever been on a bike before, arm pump is crazy. Your forearms will swell up, and your grip, you can't grip anything. And by the fourth lap, you are struggling. I remember the worst I've ever had it was at a red car meeting last year, or this, I think it was last year that I was there. It was that bad that I was coming out the corner, and I was lying my hand just flat on the handlebar just to give it a rest, going on the straight, and then again dipping the bike coming back in. And I would have probably pulled over, but it was the final, and I was in second place. Kyle was in front, and Cranny was behind us. And I remember that the prize money was like 150 quid, and the third prize was 100. And I thought, I'm no letting Cranny beat us. And afterwards, Cranny insisted. He says, I was absolutely shattered. I was just waiting for you to pull over so I could nick the second place, because we were all done. It was one of these meetings where I think we done 6 rides in it felt like about half an hour. It was just bang, bang, bang. And that, I mean, when you see a good reserve in meetings, if someone gets injured or the other reserve isn't doing very well, and you're like, oh, well, he'll get 7 rides tonight. And you've no idea that good rider, doesn't matter how fit they are, they will suffer, from it, because 2 rides on the bounce, I don't know what other people's views are, but you see Speedway and it's a minute and you think it can't be that hard just riding a bike. It's incredibly tough.
Shall we ask a certain Mr. Flint how tough it is riding Speedway bikes? Because I think
boys?
I'm absolutely fine, and I'm sure that Greg is too. Leon, many thanks for joining us. How tough is it riding around Shearfield compared with other tracks?
When it's grippy and rough, it's probably the hardest track in the country. Just because you're going that fast, and listening to Greg there saying about the whole, the two on the bounce thing and stuff like that. I can understand what you mean, but at the start of 2021, I trained the hardest I possibly could, and
wow.
I was doing when Greg will remember when we had the double headers, and I would do seven rides and the meeting for the bandits, and then go and do 5 rides straight after in the bullets, and it was tough. Speedway uses muscles that you just can't simply train. But it is tough. It's more mentally, little things like going out, say if you've even done 3 on the trot or 2 on the trot, 1 race gap, and then back out again. Little things, thinking about how hot your clutch is, how hot the engine is, did they manage to change the setup like I asked. It's more of a mental battle, I think.
Okay.
When you say that, Leon, about the fitness side, I remember it was last year. You were at reserve, and I can't remember what had happened, but you had been put out. I think maybe Jide got injured, and you were out. And I remember you getting at the gate in front of Scott. You were out in front of Scott Nichols.
Yeah.
And everybody thought that your bike was packing in, but you just couldn't hold the bike. It was a heavy night, and you were just two-wheeling it coming out the corner, and you could see your arms were just giving up. And for that just goes to prove that you work in the gym yourself. You know the ins and outs of it. You trained really hard, like you said, and all them rides that night and just the depth of the track, it was just pulling your arms out, and you couldn't even get the bike turned.
I think, what was it? I think I done heat 1, didn't I? I think I managed. I can't remember who would it have been against. I'm sure
who was Nichols riding for last year. Was it? Or was it Bomber?
Is Bob,
It was a
Bomber,
bit.
was
It
it
was a
not
big
Birmingham?
name.
It
I
was
think so.
I remember, I'm sure I beat Bomber in Heat 1. Then I went out and won Heat 2, missed Heat 3 and was in Heat 4. And I was winning that. And I thought, I'm still convinced something slightly did happen to the bike. And I remember going right wide in the third bend, into the fourth bend. And I remember coming in to the first bend and thinking, oh, I'm just going to like collapse here. Like it was
Aye.
proper gnarly. But that it's just what you've got to do. Like I think reserves are, your number one's obviously probably your most important rider, because I think especially with Berwick this year, I think it goes to show that everyone wants to rely on the number one. You've got your captain and stuff, but really you want your number one to be going out there and winning Heat 1, and that sets the tone for the rest of the night, doesn't it? But reserves are the most key part. So when they've got the opportunity to take 7 rides, you need them on the ball, don't you? We seen with Mason for the Bullets at the start of the year. I'm sure, was it? He was at reserve at the start of the year, wasn't he?
Aye.
Mason
I think
getting
so,
chucked in all the time and stuff like that. Or it might be last year, but you've got to use the reserves to your advantage.
And the other thing is with the reserves as well, what a lot of people didn't see that goes on behind the scenes is that you've got to have your gear's got to be spot on. The mechanic has to be spot on with it, because you don't know when you could come in from a ride and somebody's went out and hit the tapes and they've decided, oh, we're going to put you in this race. I know you've just been out, but so you've got to make sure the clutch is cool, the engine's all right, you've got fuel in it, you've done this, you've done that. So it's you can't really relax as a reserve during the meeting. You've got to be on guard the whole time.
But I've still been at reserve at Wolves and stuff like that. But personally, myself, if like you say, you've got to be on your toes if you're at reserve. And if someone does go to the tapes, like I know personally, I'm like I'm straight up to Peter Adams. Like, look, I want in. I want to ride. I want to go and show what I can do. And I think if you see reserves doing that, like it's a big thing for the promotion and the management. That they want to go out and do a job, and they want to keep progressing and go and do something. I think that's a big thing as well. But like you say, reserves always need to be on the top game.
Leon, can I just ask you, because I would love to get you back on Wednesday with Mythman and hopefully Greg as well, and talk about being skipper of the Bandits. But can I just ask you about Greg? What is it about Greg that sort of inspires everybody at Berwick? Because I mean, the guy's a phenomenon, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Could you just tell us a little bit, give us a little bit of love for Greg?
I need to speak nicely about him, so hopefully he still buys this engine off us there. No, like Greg's a great guy for the team. Out of everyone that I've kind of heard about who's going to be back and stuff like that, he's another guy that's a bit similar to me, sees everything that goes into it. He's one of the boys. He's not just a rider. He's a personal friend of everyone at Berwick. So there's not a better guy to step up to the plate. But like me and Greg said, if we want, especially for the Bullets, we want 7 lads that aren't just going to turn up and just do it for the crack. We want 7 lads that we've all setting ambitions at the start of the year. I mean, it's still early now for all of us to sit down and stuff like that and plan that. But I'm sure Greg in his head, well, I know Greg in his head from speaking to him what he's got in his head that he wants to do, and you know, that all comes down to the stuff like, you know, as I've just said, you know, getting better kit, which he knows he needs to invest in. You know, getting himself fit, which I know he's already cracking on with. But as long as he keeps cracking away, and as long as he knows these things that he needs to do, I'm sure from what he says to me, his ambitions can well be achieved.
Absolutely. And so basically, what would be the sort of job description of being the captain of the Bullets? You know, last year obviously it was Kyle. You'd have to refresh my memory. The year before, Leon, were you the captain of the Bullets?
I believe I was at the start of the
Yeah.
year, and then
Yeah.
when I went to Wolves, I'm sure Kyle got given it. But you know, hearing what you like Gav was saying, you know, like they've named Charles, but you know, out of the list there, you know, you probably have your money on Danny being the guy that'd be, you know, pulling the strings a bit in the pits and stuff like that. But to me, and with Speedway, the captaincy, you know, being named the captain's just something for the program. You know, the whole team should be coming together to help. Obviously,
Yep.
the captain's got a bit more, you know, responsibility for. I know Berwick, you know, do like program notes and stuff like that. But now he should feel very, very pleasured to and very honoured to be asked to do it. You know, I was quite lost for words at the Berwick end of season do myself, but I'll not go into that. But you know, it should hopefully push him on a bit. You know, both of us just keep our feet on the ground and you know, be a good leader.
Well, I'm sorry to not spare your blushes, Leon, but I remember when Nathan Stoneman had that big off when he caught the back wheel of Harry McGurk.
I believe it was, yes.
Yeah, and I remember seeing from like probably the best view in the house, seeing him cartwheel into the fence and the bike end up, you know, in amongst the Barmy army there, and what struck me was the speed at which you arrived at the scene. It was like a split second later. You know, you were the first one on the scene, and to me, I thought, wow, you know. You're definitely, you know, it was sorry to spare your blushes, but you were so concerned not just about, you know, Nathan, his, you know, his welfare, and then trying to organise about getting the bike back to the pits and all that kind of stuff. And you know, anyway, we can go into that. Greg, maybe you would like to, you know, sort of give a little bit of love back to Leon. Sorry for having on there, but
Just remember, this price can go higher in this
I never know, may go lower after this. No, I think the good thing is, it was mentioned this year. It was after, I can't remember where we were. I think it was Leicester. We got kicked out McDonald's, and this was not for this was not for bad behaviour or anything.
We were sensible, I promise.
We were sensible. We were just waiting for our food, and they were closing, and a load of vans turned up wanting to get food, and you know, closing time was 10, but we got there about 5 to, and we're like, well, we're having this. So we all got hoisted out. So we kind of stood outside, and we all just sort of chatted away, and the conversation was quite good because we've got, you know, Kev Little coaching us. He's been in the sport for a long time. He knows the ins and outs of it. But he was saying it's funny that, like, when Kev finished racing, Leon was still in nappies, in 2006. But it's like what Leon's given back to Kev, he's relaying messages to him as well. So because things have changed just ever so slightly, so Kev's learning stuff for Leon, but at the same time, Kev's got a hell of a lot of knowledge in different departments. So, and I think that's the other reason why Berwick works so well, because you could see that there would be some guys, like, I don't know, say, for instance, Kev could take a bit of the huff because there's a younger lad coming in and telling him, oh, no, that's wrong. This is what you should do. Whereas he's like, oh yeah, aye, fair enough. And that's how it all works so well, because everybody gets on, which is great. And I
You
think
have to
that's
though, but
the
I think as well though at Berwick, like everyone knows that they have to keep in line because, you know, Berwick don't tolerate like, you know, dickheads to the like if someone was just
nah,
being,
Yeah.
you know, like Kev, you know, there's a lot of people that, you know, that day at Leicester and many times at Berwick, like Kev would propose something and I wouldn't say like, oh no, you need to do this. I'd just be like, oh, why don't we try this? This is what it'll do. This is what you're doing now. This is how it'll help. And Kev will go, all right, that sounds good. But you know, like other people would, you know, split the dummy out and go, oh, I've been doing Speedway or involved with Speedway longer than you. But the thing is with Berwick, everyone knows to keep in line. Otherwise, they'll be sharply told to sort themselves out.
Well, do you know that's an interesting thing because coming from Cheltenham originally, moving up to the borders and going to places in Northumberland, not specifically Berwick, but nearby Wooler, Alnwick, Rothbury, it struck me that you've got people there that they don't suffer fools gladly, but once you've shown them that you are a genuine article, they're really genuine folk back. So that doesn't surprise me at all. I'd like to know a little bit about your thoughts on, for me, probably the greatest Berwick captain of all time, Rob Grant Senior. Any thoughts on him and how he was the captain of the Berwick Bandits?
I think you're probably better
probably before
asking
my
Greg
time.
this.
Before my time. It would be before my time. I think you need to ask somebody a little. You probably need Marty or James on for that because I can't
okay. Let's.
We're great
Sorry.
family, like we're great family friends. Like my granddad and old Granty, you know, we always used to do grass tracking many a times, and he's still like back, like, you know, old lad riding grass track, never changed. But you know, everyone knows now some of the stuff that he did. You know, you'd never get away with now, would you? But no, but you know, you need someone like how he was, like someone to, and what hopefully me and Greg are gonna do, just different ways. Just
Yep.
you need someone to see that's ready to lead, you know, its team out for battle, like, you know, the face of it. So, you know, like if stuff doesn't go right, or if we, hopefully not, if we do get, you know, a bit of a pumping, you know, don't be afraid, you know, you need to face the music, stuff like going in the black and gold after and stuff like that. You know, you need to be the face of it and own up to it. But you know, still going back on what I said, like, you know, the captaincy thing, it is just a thing for the media and stuff like that. But
Okay.
you know, I certainly know myself, I feel a lot of pride in it, and as will Greg. But yeah, relating to the whole Granty thing, I don't think we're going to be clotheslining anyone off the bikes if they pull a left on any of the riders. But we'll certainly be
You never know.
the first ones there if needed.
Well, first of all, just going back to the whole sort of Rob Grant thing. Obviously we had the awards ceremony recently, and I came up with a whole load of alternative Berwick Bandits, Berwick Bullets, sort of alternative awards, and one was the Rob Grant Hard as Nails Award. And there was one name that came out, wasn't there? That was, it was like there's a no-brainer. I don't know if Mad Mick was ever captain of Berwick, but if it comes to hard as nails, Makovsky is definitely up there with
Makovsky
Grant,
was
isn't
captain.
it? Yeah.
See, when you was on about this, the hard as nails thing, I can't really remember him being like that dirty. Well, not dirty, but like hard. But I'd probably say for me it would have been like probably like a, not hard as nails and he was dirty, but Lee Complin for me. I remember him, my dad used to help him like mechanic for him all the time, and I just remember saying to him, I was like, "Why is he wheeling down the straight all the time? Like, what's he do? He's in third place and he's doing wheelies." And my dad was like, "Oh, I don't think he actually has control. He's just that rage." But Ricky Ashworth for me as well. Like, Ricky Ashworth was like unbelievable around Berwick. Like the style he had, just wouldn't even like slide the bike, would he? Just two-wheel it right round, and he was special to watch. I can remember that. But then like, bringing them all up, I keep thinking of more. But now that I've mentioned, I think Seb Alden for me would have been like my, like I'd call him the GOAT of Berwick, like Seb Alden.
Yeah.
He was pretty fast. Like,
I was gonna say I instigated this kind of who would be the from last year. Sorry, from the whole for the last 30 years because that's as far back as most of our memories go. I'm the oldest one in the group chat. Who would be the if the Shouty brothers had been around for the last 30 years, who would be the most sensational riders they've ever seen round Berwick? And obviously you've mentioned Seb and you've mentioned Ricky and Lee Complin, and there was a few other names that came to light. I suppose probably one of them would be Alan Mogridge.
I would say so, but I've always stated that my all-time favourite bandit ever, Davy Meldrum, was the full package.
Yep.
Had it all. He had the mental raj style that he had. He had the patter, and like the stories that Davy will tell you when he was over this year. Leon went skiing with him and nearly knocked him out. That's a good story for you at some point, but yeah, we'll not tell it because it'll spoil it if anybody ever wants to go skiing with Leon. Because I think your dad went skiing. We done it at the bar. We done a bit of skiing, and I just got off lightly.
We got raised, didn't we?
It's like Davy was. He was at that time probably Berwick's. Well, he was Berwick's son, wasn't he? You know, he was brilliant,
just
absolutely brilliant.
About him, wasn't it?
Just
like,
and the things are.
He went on a night out and swam the Tweed instead of walking over the bridge. I heard he swam over.
There's probably a high chance of that. My favourite one was, I can't remember what track they were coming back, but somebody was coming up the road heading towards back. I think he might have been working in. And Davy's van was up in the side of a banking. And they were like, shit, that's Davy's van. So they stopped to get out to go and have a look. And there was just steam coming out the front of it through the headlights in the dark. Like, oh, Davy's went off the road. He smashed it. And they went round the front of the van. And there's Davy gutting a deer. And he says he had found it lying dead at the side of the road. So he was cutting it up. And he was like, oh, that'll do me. Found that. Hid it in the back of the van. And that was him. That'll be his dinner for a few nights. Just like deering beside the bike.
Like,
just
even Scott though, like Scott Courtney would tell us about, like, he'd drink like 20 pints and like be like the first one at graft at 7 o'clock the next morning. Like that's a task. Like,
it's no bother to your Davy, and hopefully he's going to be back over sometime soon because he's some character when he's in that pub in the black and gold at meetings.
Hopefully in the off season,
well, that's true. He came to Bellevue with us this year, and he said, "Greg, are you needing a hand with anything?" And I says, "No, that I can think of." And he went, "Get him away at the bar." And I come back in after a race, and Davy was standing there and had 2 pints in his hand. One was just about finished, and the other one was full. He's just standing like this with the pint in hand. Yeah, Davy's having a good time. Luckily, we didn't have to take him home though, because I think you went with your dad, because that would have been a hell of a lot of pit stops on the way back up the road. Your sounds went, Leon.
Is it?
I think your finger was over the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's better. Yes. I was going to say another captain. I'm sure I'm right about saying this. Was that Banger was famously captain of the Bandits, but again, probably would that be before your time, Greg?
When would that be?
2003, 2004.
Yeah, Kev was riding at Newcastle then, and Drew was in the spanners for Kev, so I wasn't at Berwick much.
Right.
Around about that era, that was when I was kicking about at Newcastle.
Right.
My
As a
granddad,
boy.
my granddad used to mechanic for him like full time. My
Yeah.
granddad's got some good stories about him. He was a bit of a hard nut as well, to be fair.
He definitely comes into the Rob Grant hard as nails along with Mikko Makowski, doesn't he? and the best thing about Banger was that he when he was at his prime with Berwick, he was also a postman.
Was he?
Can you remember that? He was a postman.
Oh, I didn't know he was a postman.
Yeah. He worked full time
I
as
do
a postman.
apologise. I don't remember because I was just out the womb at that time.
Well, that's that's no excuse. Is that any excuse, Greg? No.
Well,
well.
Paul, don't worry. Paul, don't worry. I know all about your sensation, Mark Courtney. It's all right. That's
listen.
All right.
I've not even.
I've got him started, Greg.
Because he was never captain. But I was going to move forward to.
Mark Courtney.
I'm happy to. Nah. Kev Doolan. Thoughts on Kev?
Legend.
Or
my
in
icon.
Fact, sorry. Let's just retrack a little bit. Cozza Smith.
Now I wasn't around. That's when that would be during my retirement, and I didn't really get into Speedway. So then, for the gap for about 2011 to 2019, I wasn't at Speedway very much. I very rarely went. I only watched it on the telly. I was one of them sit in the armchair and going, I could do that. Then I came back and couldn't.
Anyway, so Leon, to save me talking about MC, let's talk about Kevin Doolan.
Kev was a legend, man. Like, very personal friend with me and just everyone at Berwick's. Scott, Jamie, my dad, my granddad. When he first came over, but when he got pally with like the likes of Scott and my dad and everything like that, Kev came and lived up at my granddad's for quite a while. I can't remember what year it was, but I stayed there for a long time, and I just a great guy. I'm sure my nanny, he was paying the digs money, and then for like the whole year or the 2 years he was there, and then when they dropped him off at the airport, my nanny like must have kept all like the digs money and given it back. So very, very close with him. And the last 2019 and 2020, he was staying at my granddad's as well. But my first year in 2019, I think the plan was, and we always said, we want to have a season together. And I think when I was eligible to ride in the championship, I was quite a hot prospect, so everyone kind of wanted us. And like everyone was matching deals with Berwick and stuff like that. And Kev said to me, he was like, "Oh, I'll retire when we do 1 year." And evidently he's not retired, is he? But evidently that's what's happened. He's still my role model now. He just purely wanted to ride his bike and have a very good time doing it. And I think out of the whole, last 20 years of, Christ, he's older than that, 30 years of riders in England, I think he's probably the most well-known and the most humble and liked guy in Speedway. But just a great guy. But we had a little joke when he lived with us before, because I used to live with my granddad's a lot, and he used to take the mick because he was staying in my bedroom. We used to take the mick saying about all the birds and, well, not the birds, but all the all the wanks and that he had in it and stuff like that. And then he came back and was like, I was like, oh, how do you like it now after I've had my fun in
it? Listen. Before we descend on certain other avenues of conversation, for which I will not go any further. I would just like to say that if possible, Leon, are you available Wednesday night to have a chat with Mythman and myself?
I should be, yes.
And,
I should be.
because I really want to discuss, obviously, the Bandits, and the focus of this evening is more to do with the Bullets, as obviously the Bullets is the feeder team to the Bandits. Who have you picked out as, or who would you see of last season's team as being obvious candidates for moving up to the Championship? And I dare to hate to put this on you, but thoughts on Ace going forward to ride in the Championship? There's been a lot of debate backstage about, is it a bit too much too soon? My opinion has always been, if you're good enough, you're old enough, you're young enough, you're whatever. But I'd like to, if you would, give your thoughts on Ace moving up to the Championship with Glasgow.
Aye, it's like, it's whatever him and Theo and Carrie want to do, and if they feel like that's the best decision for them, then and go for it. There has been quite a few people talking about it, but then it's a big step, purely for the fact because the step from the National League to the Championship is so big. But then, if he doesn't do it, he's never going to know, is he? So, I know I can speak on the whole of Berwick. There's absolute no grudges from us or anyone. He'll be welcome back if he wants to with open arms. If he wants to carry on his apprenticeship at Berwick. But I can speak for the whole club. We salute him in what he wants to do, and hope he does crack on and have a good season. But like I say, he just needs to see for himself. Like I live, my missus is cousins with Ace, so I'm up in Pennycook now. So we see a lot of Theo and stuff like that. But
sure,
if I'm going to be here all winter, I'm going to propose to him, that we do a bit of training and stuff like that. I thought
there was going to be someone else coming out there.
Proposing. Proposing.
No,
get your hat ready.
But need to have I'm sure Theo has already, but he needs to understand now that he's not just a junior, and he's not a little lad. He's a full athlete now. So it's a big change, and again, I'll be behind him. He is a good lad, and
Same question to you, Greg. To do with Ace moving up. Obviously, there's been, as I was saying, this sort of chat backstage. But what do you think? If he's good enough, he's old enough, he's young enough. Age is just a number, surely.
Well, I'm prime example for it. I mean, there's probably you've probably got the same people will be saying the same thing about me. It's a third season in the National League. Like 32 now, but it all comes down to the same thing. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I have heard people in the past saying you're just hanging about there. It was the same when Lee Complin came in last year. It was like, they're just taking the place up for a young lad. Well, there's posts all the time about the other day about the Commonwealth riders coming into the National League, taking away the slots for the British riders. Well, surely it just means that the British riders are just going to have to dig in, work a little bit harder in the training, and get a team in place. Because if you're not, it's like if you're not good enough, then you're not going to get in. That's the top and bottom of it. And Glasgow taking Ace, they've got a hell of a good team coming up already. They themselves obviously believe that Ace is ready for it, and Ace and everyone else behind him obviously thinks that he's ready for it. So, why not? It's he could have done another year in the National League and maybe picked up guest bookings at the Championship level, maybe, or why not just let's just go for it.
The thing is nowadays, like, sorry to cut you off, but like when I first started, like with Birmingham, you was riding at least once a week, sometimes two. When now there's a lot less clubs, and I feel, without sounding too harsh, the league has just kind of dropped within like the standard. Like, there's riders that was on 4 points when my early days doing the National League that have now got like that was on a 4 point average and now we're on like 7, and that's not through them getting better. That's just from like the standard, the way it was going. But like I remember being at Birmingham when we had we had Mitch Davey, who was riding at number 7 for Swindon and riding for, who was he riding for in the Championship? Was it Edinburgh?
It would have been Edinburgh. Could have been or Redcar.
Well, one of the two, but he was riding for Swindon as well, and he was doing really well for Swindon. We had Mitch, then we had Tom Bacon, that was riding in the Championship. We had Daniel Hume. Like that's like 3 top guys. Like back then, they were the ones to beat. And like now it's kind of like slowly, like you look at Edinburgh's team this past year. Like 2019, Danny was at number 2 most of the year for Bellevue, and he was at number 1 for Edinburgh. And then like I can't remember who else they had at number 5 now. I'm sure Lee signed for them, didn't he?
Yeah.
But like I say, like there's not that many meetings to just say like, oh, have another year in the National League, because you need to be riding all the time. So that's why I think Ace has to do it and has to give it a pop to just be on the bike more, because anyone knows the more you ride, and at a certain extent, the more meetings you do, and the more you progress and getting in the flow of things.
That's exactly it. You need to be not just, you could say, oh well, I'm on the bike all the time practicing. You need to be Tate's racing. You need to be mixing it with boys to bring you on, and that's where you find your speed. When you go out, like the few meetings I did this season for Berwick, and a couple of guest bookings for them, that brought me on leaps and bounds, because I was out beside faster riders. I'm not saying that I was getting an easier ride in the National League, but there was times where you could go out and you could you've already won the race before you go out, because you make a gate on these boys, they're not going to come around you. Whereas Championship level, you've got to be on it the full time, because the race isn't done until the checkered flag.
The thing is with that though, like if you're doing Championship as well, National League's great to come back and get your confidence back up. But like if you someone like Greg and you're just continuously doing the National League, you're like, where's the bigger step here? But results don't lie, and I'm sure Greg, if he's pushing on in the National League, getting maxes and stuff like that, there will be a chance on the door for him. I'd like to say Berwick, but obviously I'm putting all my faith in the current 7 that we've got. But I like Greg says, you go to the tapes and you feel like you've already won the race. That's a great feeling if you're doing the Championship as well, because you want to try and take that in. But I can understand what he means by saying, "Oh, if you're only riding against them boys all the time, then you know you want a bit of you want a bit of a harder meeting the next one. You want to be against harder guys to see what you need to improve on."
Well, Leon, you've kind of touched on a bit of a sort of question I was going to lead on to, which was to compare with, and this is something that's been raging. I don't know if you know about this, but sort of backstage, we've had this conversation many a time about, as you say, Ace's progress within the sport, and comparing it with the likes of, Kyle Bickley. And Kyle, I think has been unfairly compared with Dan Bewley, and unfairly, I would say, compared with yourself. But you've all sort of started off and gone in your different sort of levels, and well, I no, you didn't start the same time as Dan, obviously, but you're rising up in that same trajectory as Dan, whereas Kyle, it seems to have. The suggestion has been, let's cut to the point, that the suggestion has been that for some riders, it's too much too soon.
I wouldn't say, like, if we're speaking about Kyle, I wouldn't say it's not too much too soon.
Sure.
It's more of the case. I think, like, the whole days that I was of being a youngster and graduating from 125s to 250s and then to 500s, I was always like under the radar kind of thing.
Right.
Being up north, like,
Yeah.
I know my dad and stuff, like, we always try to keep me like under the radar instead of like, punting me out there for everyone to see. So like,
Sure.
I think someone told me I was the most decorated British, well, young, like under 16s British champion there's been.
Right.
But like still, like, I managed to keep the, like, my name like quite low, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then like there's not been any pressure on me to go and live up to what everyone's saying. Where Kyle, he was like world champion on the 125s. But I think he was 3-time world champion, possibly,
Right.
or something to do with that. And now that he had that and everyone talking about it, it was kind of like, oh, right, Kyle's going to be the next world champion kind of thing. And then for him personally, like, he might have felt that all on his shoulders kind of thing, with all
Mm-hmm.
the pressure of everyone saying, thinking, oh, right, well, I need to go and do it. And then, he he struggled a bit at Berwick, at the start of the year, um, and stuff like that. And I don't know if maybe the pressure of what everyone was, kind of saying about him, and then everyone saying how on par me and Kyle are, which there's, Kyle's a great rider. He's got a lot of skill on a bike. But I don't know if it was because possibly like the way I went, he thought, "All right, I need to match him,"
Right.
and just maybe just the pressure of it all. But I'm sure Kyle hopefully he'll kick on. He's a good friend, and
Yep.
again, all of Berwick wish him all the luck at Edinburgh.
Leon, I'm absolutely flabbergasted. You are the current reigning under 19 British champion. You're the current under 21 British champion, but you're a youngster. How come you have got such a thoughtfulness about the sport?
I think it's more just like being around older guys, though, like most of my childhood. Like, I never really had that much of a childhood because everything was like, even when I was younger and doing motocross, it was like, all right, Grandad would say, right, we're going to South Tees to ride, or we're going here, we're going there, and I just get in the van and go. But then,
Wow.
like, the other things of it, even with the Speedway, he was like, right, we're going to Northside, right, we're going to Redcar, right, we're going to Scunthorpe, and I loved it.
Mm.
but even with my dad, when my dad was, like captain for the rugby and all that, like I'd just go away with all them boys on a Saturday and just mixing with them, and they all treated me exactly the same. And don't get me
It's
wrong.
a better upbringing, isn't it?
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. Like I'm a silly bugger. Like, but when I need to be, like I feel like I'm very mature when I need to be. But I like just being in the van with like Kev and all that, just jumping in the van with all them. Like, you don't get that anymore, do you? Because everyone's still at home playing Fortnite and doing this and doing that. Where not any kind of upbringing to what you might have had, or Greg and stuff like that. But I'm very thankful for everything that did happen in my upbringing, because it's got me to where I am today. And but
Greg, I'll give you the final word, and then there's Leon, and bless him. You're back again. Excellent. I can't express my gratitude enough for the words that you've shared with us this evening. Absolutely fantastic. Greg, your thoughts on Leon and your hopes for the season ahead as skipper of the Bullets?
He's a good lad, Leon, isn't he? No, it's going to be good. Like I've said before many times, we've got a great bunch of guys in the pits. Looking forward to next year. I mean, I've already kick-started my training now. I've joined my local running team. So, like, them guys are spot on with what they do. They've shown us what to do and what I need to be doing for the Speedway, which is great. I'm starting to enjoy it now, because at the beginning I could hardly walk afterwards, but it's good. And just looking forward to, it's obvious that we're going to have maybe one or two different faces in the Bullets camp this year, and just mixing with new people. That's what Speedway's all about. And I think taking the role on as captain, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I know that, as you say, it's just like a program kind of thing, and it's not going to change anything of what I did previous years. I'll still get behind the boys, and even when I've been having a bad night, I'll still go out and give the rest of the lads a good G'ing up, and just not putting any pressure on us, because I think I'm not saying it was a bad thing, but because we did so well in 2021, we just missed out on winning the league. I think the team was very similar to what it was the year before, the previous year. I think we thought that it was going to happen. Bringing Ace into the side and how well he went at the start of the year, I think we thought it was just going to happen. It was going to be a bit of a walk in the park for us. Maybe not a walk in the park, but sometimes I think we were a bit too relaxed. But this year it's going to be a case of every point counts and every race counts. That's what I'll be trying to put into it anyway. I've always said to some of the lads that are having a bad night, just ride your bike like it's, pretend this is going to be the last time you're ever on a speedo bike. Go out there and ride it, ride like you stole it. So yeah,
I think the problem, I know I'm talking again, but I think the problem was with 2021, the whole idea with it was just to put a team out and get the lads riding. But I think the main problem was the boys went out and smashed it and set the bar at that level, and they've been trying to do that all the time, where they don't necessarily need to be but that was the problem with 2021, when he's just went out and absolutely smashed it. And hopefully he's do it this coming year. But I know one thing I will be saying to all the Bandits boys, like people like Rory, and Thomas and Jonas and stuff like that, try and get them invested into, if we're running double headers and stuff like that, try and get them invested into helping the boys and stuff like that, because as we say, just it's not Berwick Bullets and Berwick Bandits, it's just Berwick as a whole.
Yep.
That's exactly it.
Would you like to finish off with a clip of the Bullets versus Mildenhall Heat 14 round Shielfield?
Do not show me anything at Mildenhall, because my
It's not at Mildenhall. It's against Mildenhall at
I
Shielfield.
was gonna say I went to the bar at Heat 10. I didn't really.
I'm only kidding. Here we go. Here we go.
I did ask the question though.
Yeah. Here we go.
Look, Muffin off yellow. Gate 4. So, there's nothing a given in this one, but you can bet your bottom dollar the box office Blair will be doing absolutely everything to throw the proverbial at the Venn Tiger Man should he need it.
Yeah, that's we've been treated to some fantastic action here tonight.
We really have.
And National League Speedway, it's pretty bloody entertaining.
It really is, and you only hope from a Bullets perspective that Greg's dug deep into his toolbox, reached out and found a start out of somewhere and can just rip Snort away from the start, get his wheels in line. But we're about to find out in this one, James. Rev's going high, Star Marshal away, tapes rise. Who's made the best fist of it? It's Alex Spooner and wide, but Ben Rathbone on the inside's made a brilliant start. Can he block the move of Alex Spooner? And here comes box office as well.
Yeah, Ben Rathbone making a rip snorting start there, getting the better of Alex Spooner, and Greg Blair is in third place at the moment. A 4-2 to the Bullets as things stand at the moment, but you just know that Greg Blair's going to throw absolutely everything that he has at Alex
Here
Spooner.
comes Blair.
Here comes Greg Blair going for the big pass.
There for Blair.
Not quite getting there. Alex Spooner hangs on into second place. Here it comes again, rounds Ben 1 and 2. 2 laps to go.
There's Blair jumping to the inside. Can he make it work over the corner? He's done him.
Bullets on a 5-1, which means if it stays like this, or at least the worst they can do is a draw tonight. Absolute crucial.
My goodness.
Blair all out of shape. What on earth are you doing, Greg Blair? But Ben Rathbone out in front, looking so fast and so stylish. And if it stays like this, he's going to be the man of the match for me tonight. Ben Rathbone's been absolutely tremendous.
Bucking and rearing all over the shop, managing to stay on the bicycle.
High, wide and handsome indeed is Greg Blair.
Yes. Ben Rathbone stealing a march.
Yeah, Ben Rathbone. Reserve switch. What an astute bit of team management
It really was. And hats off to him. He made a brilliant start, rode a clever first and second bend. And, well, you said it before the race. If there was a man that you needed to do the business when it mattered, it was box office. And he duly delivered. He was more out of shape than Zebedee at times, but he done the business. And I would say that he's pretty chuffed with that one.
I don't know.
Absolutely buzzing.
Does he look chuffed to you?
Just a bit. And the T-sider, Ben Rathbone behind him.
I tell you, for me tonight, Ben Rathbone's been man of the match for me tonight.
I can't go against that, you know. And of course, one race to go.
Crucial.
The Bullets have put themselves in a fantastic driving seat in this one.
They really have. 44-40, one race to go. Which way is it going to go? We'll find out very, very shortly.
I would just ask. Leon, I would just ask, how much do you miss not riding for the Bullets?
Me?
Yeah.
It was good fun. It was good fun.
I don't even really think you can miss it because he's always there anyway. I mean, Leon's even there when we're away places. He'll come down if he's not busy. So it's no. The only thing that he's not doing is wearing a Bullets race jacket, but he's there anyway.
But you touched on earlier about the confidence it gives you to sort of go into the National League, and I mean you were just scoring maximums for fun, obviously when you joined Wolverhampton. I think did you not score like 2 or 3 on the trot?
I think so. It was something like that. But like for me, it's like how long do I hold on to that?
Sure.
You know, like for me, it's good fun, but at the end of the day, like, you know, for the money I'm paying for like engine services and stuff like that,
Sure.
you know, I need the best of my kit for riding against, you know, well, GP riders, don't I? You know, I can't be coming back, because then, you know, I'm not moving forward. I'm coming backwards. But, you know, like, I'm always there with the boys and stuff like that. And I think they, you know, they do appreciate it. But I was there in their same position when I first started, and you know, I know when I did first start, how much I appreciated it when I had someone there that half knew what they were doing to come to and advice. And I, you know, I just want the best for Berwick's club as a whole. So, you know, I try and do everything that I can.
Listen, guys, you've been absolutely fantastic tonight, as always. I'm going to obviously give Greg the last words. Leon, absolutely fantastic chatting with you. And as I say, it was funny. It was that meeting against Plymouth when you came running out. I thought, that's captaincy material.
Yeah.
That was the moment I thought.
Oh, Jesus.
I thought, well, that's, you know, that's it just showed it meant so much to you. And, you know, anyway, I'm not going to embarrass you any further. And I'm just going to say, absolutely fantastic having you on. If we can have a chat on Wednesday, that would be great. Greg, you are the announced as the skipper of the Bullets. I know you're mega pumped about that. I'm just going to give you the last words.
Just looking forward to next season, and I hope to see everybody there, and we'll hopefully see many people in the black and gold afterwards again for a wee pint. Mine's is a Guinness.
I know yours is a Guinness. What about Leon?
Water next year.
Water next year. Water.
Yeah, I'll probably be water next year.
Water.
I've lost 3 kilo. Like I'm wanting to keep that off.
We're going on a not a black and gold ban, but definitely some sort of ban.
Name your 4 in the morning jobs.
No. No.
Oh well. Right. Well, I'll catch you later, lads. I'll see you Wednesday.
See you Wednesday. Aye, it was a pleasure.
See you later.
See you, boys.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Leon.
Cheers.
Cheers.